Hey guys, what's going on? It's Eli, back with another review video, and it's that time once again for me to review some Halloweenish materials on the weekends. Yes, and that's right, you read the title, you know exactly what it is that I'm reviewing, and seeing as how this one classic, and it pretty much is, something Halloweenish, obviously. A TV gem from the 1960s, and, because this year it's celebrating its anniversary, and obviously I'd have to review it, and thus I finally am. That's right, guys. 1964's, they're creepy and they're kooky, mysterious and spooky, they're all together rookie, the Addams Family. Yep, snapping. All right, anyways, so 1964's The Addams Family. Yeah, again, what a TV gem this is. Am I not wrong? This being one of the first ever adaptations of Charles Addams' famous comic strip, which of course being The Addams Family, this is what started it all, and what would come in the later years, where we got more Addams Family materials, like, whether if we got, like, say, a reunion with the original cast from the 60s show, or if we got, like, say, a cartoon, or if we had gotten some movies, some live action, some animated, yeah, because I feel as though that, some of them could never top off. I mean, that's not to say that other, adaptations of something Addams Family, not to say that they're bad or anything, like, most of them are good. I mean, the ones from the 90s, the two Addams Family films that Barry Sonnenfeld had directed, and, of course, let's not forget to mention Tim Burton doing something Addams Family, and that, of course, being Wednesday. Oh, yeah. Can't forget to mention that. That, too, being something else great. Something, adapted from the Addams Family. But this, too, again, this is what started it all. The 1964 sitcom, The Addams Family. And, this being the only piece of Addams Family material to, be a sitcom and, well, to have a, a studio audience, laugh track and such. But, yeah. Also, as I recall, the cartoon from the 80s, that was pretty good, too. I did watch a good chunk of that, actually. I do remember one episode from the cartoon show where Pugsley and Wednesday, they go to summer camp and Thing tagged along with them. And I like how in the later materials of the Addams Family and how, not just with the cartoons, like, that's easy, but, like, say when, live-action Addams Family materials came along, and with the technology and such, they were this time, and for sure, able to have Thing no longer be in a box. I assume as though that, the 1960s Addams Family show is probably the only piece of Addams Family material where we see Thing in a box, and it's understandable because they weren't really able to achieve that back then, okay? Have just a hand and just, like, say what the 90s Addams Family movies did, or Wednesday, or the cartoon, but it is a cartoon, so that's easy for them to do, but I'm just saying. Things that they were not able to achieve back in the 60s, especially for 60s television, not really having the budget to do so. Yeah. But, I mean, granted, because, like, I can't forget, because I try not to forget all of Addams Family materials, because does anybody remember the late 90s Addams Family show? Because that one, I've seen a little bit of it. I do know that there's one episode where John Astin guest stars as Grandpa Addams, yeah. And the theme song to that, Welcome to the Addams Family. If anybody knows about that, and if any of you possibly who grew up with that, there was also one with, it was, Dang. Daryl Hannah, yeah, her and good old Tim Curry playing Morticia and Gomez. Oh, come on. Having them play Morticia and Gomez, how awesome is that? They fit right in, and yeah, so if anybody knows about that too. Yeah, but, you know, we're talking about the 60s Addams Family, the one that started it all, because, yeah, you know, everything about the 60s Addams Family show, just so memorable, with great episodes, great casting, and, yeah. And, I do wonder, because I actually didn't look this up, because I wonder... obviously, Charles Addams would still have been around when the show happened. I wonder if, you know, obviously if he were to approve of it, and if he thought it was pretty good, you know, and how they adapted his baby, you know, the Addams Family being his baby, how they adapted it into live action and on television. Yeah, so I wonder, maybe possibly, yeah, he might have liked it and such. You know, and the fact that the Addams Family from the 60s, it only lasted for 2 seasons. Well, that's because, sadly, the Addams Family was one of those, you know, shows from the 60s where sometimes, you know, no matter what, some shows from the 60s, like, say, best other examples, Batman, Gilligan's Island, Star Trek, The Twilight Zone, because, yeah, The Twilight Zone, because it had begun, you know, at the end of the 1950s, starting in 1959, and up to 1964, that's when it got canceled. So, yeah, sadly, The Addams Family being another one of those shows in the 60s that would not last long, and, well, for the Addams Family's case, it only lasted for 2 seasons, because a bunch of other shows in the 60s, like, you know, from Batman, Star Trek, the original series, and Gilligan's Island, those shows, they only lasted for 3 seasons. But for the Addams Family, sadly didn't make it to 3, but, you know, that's how it is, and that's how everything turned out, sadly, for the Addams Family show. But anyways, you know, and also, you know, around the same time, because when the Addams Family began, we also had another similar, like, show, because right in that same level as the Addams Family, you know, a spooky family, creepy, scary, I'm, of course, referring to the Munsters. So, yeah. All right, but getting more into the Addams Family show itself, because the cast of characters, fantastic. Carolyn Jones being the first woman to portray Morticia. Good old John Astin, the father of Sean Astin, which, fun fact, because I just now brought that up, I discovered this. I don't know if any of you have, or maybe possibly, John Astin is actually not really the biological father of Sean Astin. I'm serious. I'm not joking. Please go look that up. I insist. But I wonder, because, well, I mean, you know, even as of now, because, you know, Sean obviously considers John his father, and, well, for John, considering Sean a son to him, just, yeah, even though, because they're not really the same blood type or anything like that, but, you know, so again, it's no joke. Go look that up if any of you did not know this. So yeah, again, John Astin, you know, he was great as Gomez Addams, and then you also have the butler, Lurch, being played by, you know, legendary Ted Cassidy, who had a great voice, and, you know, you rang, and just many times when Lurch would just go, oh, God, so good. That's, you know, what Ted Cassidy brought to the character of Lurch, just so fantastic. And then Uncle Fester being played by Jackie Coogan, which, fun fact, Jackie Coogan, he started acting at a very young age, and he got to work alongside with Charles Chaplin, a.k.a. Charlie Chaplin. Yeah, he got to work with Charles Chaplin himself, you know, in some of the movies that Charles had starred in. So before he was Uncle Fester, he had worked as a boy with Charlie Chaplin. I'm sure some of you probably didn't know that. Grandmama being played by, yeah, Blossom Rock. That's a fitting name, you know, from first and last name. And then, of course, the 2 kids, Wednesday, who was first played by Lisa Loring, and Pugsley being played by Ken Weatherwax. Yeah, I said that right. Also, Thing, of course, can't forget about Thing, and the fact that Thing, he actually was also played by Ted Cassidy. And again, Thing, who we see coming out of a box, and again, obviously, they were in no ways able to achieve where we see Thing not in a box and walking around like on two fingers. No, because they weren't able to achieve that back then. So, you know, Thing popping out of a box at times, you know, that was acceptable, and it, you know what, it managed to work in the show. I think it did. And also, the stuff that's in their house, you know, always, like, sometimes, most of it being alive. Like, there's a, you know, a moose bust, you know, on the wall where, you know, one of its antlers is, you know, crooked and such. They even sometimes, you know, there's sometimes, I should say, there's sometimes a lion that pops up, most notably the lion being seen in the intro, and obviously that being their pet lion. I wish I could remember the lion's name. I'll put the name of their pet lion, you know, in a text. And also, he at times popping up in the show, and can't forget to mention him as well, Cousin It. Yeah, and Cousin It, the body performance of Cousin It being played by the late Felix Sela. Yeah, and just the way that Cousin It talks is so memorable, and you know what? It's great to see that they sticked with that, you know, in later materials, I should say, later materials, but also, yeah, materials / adaptations of the Addams Family where he would talk gibberish, you know. God, it's funny. Yeah, and also, yeah, because, you know, other characters that would pop up, just, mainly just, you know, they would, most of the time, just have, you know, characters just making a one-time appearance, and, you know, the guest stars that they would have. I recall that Don Rickles made an appearance in the Addams Family. Also, this was an interesting one. There's an episode where Robbie the Robot makes a guest appearance, and basically he's Lurch's, you know, little friend, like a friend of Lurch to help him out around the house and such. Yeah, so that was interesting, like, seeing Robbie the Robot in the Addams Family. Well, and at that time, when Robbie the Robot was still a big star after Forbidden Planet, and from there on, because, well, Robbie the Robot would go on to appear in a couple of episodes of The Twilight Zone, and of course, most notably, and obviously, Lost in Space. So, yeah, but that was interesting that somehow, and you know what? It managed to work, and it was acceptable for the Addams Family from the 60s, Robbie the Robot being in something Halloweenish, and, well, I mean, granted, because Robbie would kind of seem fitting, and, well, I mean, like, say, Twilight Zone, yeah, but for this, yeah, and how that episode was done, and with Robbie's appearance, his presence, and just, yeah, so good. And, again, managed to work. And to name off some other episodes of the Addams Family, because, yeah, there were some pretty memorable episodes, and even though there was only 2 seasons, still, because we all have our favorite episodes, and, you know, anybody who watched the Addams Family, and if you ever, you know, catch this on TV and such, reruns, or, you know, I mean, I think especially, like, MeTV being, yeah, because I don't see why not MeTV having, you know, the original Addams Family on there. Because, yeah, some episodes that popped in my mind that I can think of so well, because, like, well, there's one episode where Thing goes missing, because at first how some of the Addams Family members, how they at first kind of treat Thing and such, and there's also an episode where, and which made a lot of sense, where Wednesday and Pugsley were to be sent to a public school, and it doesn't go too well for them. One episode where Lurch, his harpsichord, is, you know, taken out of the house, and his life is just completely goes downhill without, you know, when his harpsichord is gone and he doesn't have it with him anymore, and how he loved playing the harpsichord. And one episode where Uncle Fester applies for a job and that doesn't go too well. One episode where Lurch dreads on going to the annual Butler ball, and how he struggles to dance, and each of the Addams family members helping him learn to dance, even hiring someone to teach Lurch how to dance, and when it comes to Wednesday, helping Lurch how to dance, which is pretty funny. One episode where Lurch starts to have his own fan club of screaming, hyperactive girls, and obviously this has to do with him and his harpsichord. One episode where Gomez and Morticia, they try to help out Cousin It on his future. And yeah, because some episodes where we do see Cousin It, of course, they'd be great. Was there another episode that I was thinking of as well? Yeah, that's about it, because, yeah, what can you say about the Addams Family from the 1960s? It's such a memorable and beloved classic show from the good old days of television, with memorable and classic shows, and, as of today, with so many other variations of the Addams Family from different shows, movies, and whether if they're live action or animation, most of them could never top off the original. But again, that's not to say that some other variations and materials of the Addams Family are good. As I said, best other examples. The two movies from the 90s, from Barry Sonnenfeld, Tim Burton's Wednesday, the cartoon from the 80s, and not to mention because, when the original cast members of the 60s show, they would reprise their roles as the characters, there was as I recall, there was a cartoon show of the Addams Family, Ted Cassidy reprised his role, John Astin, Carolyn Jones, and there was a TV movie in 1977, an attempt for there to be a sequel series or something, which that never came to be. Most of the original cast members came back, even, Ken Weatherwax and Lisa Loring. By that point, they had grown up, and rightfully so, because they would reprise their roles, but yeah, obviously Wednesday and Pugsley would now be older and be, almost in their 20s and such. But for some reason, because they had another little Wednesday and Pugsley in that, I have to check that again, just, the meaning of that. But, yeah. Just, the Addams Family show from the 1960s, it's great. But it's obvious that there are those that don't really enjoy it that much. I think if I recall, my parents, each of them just not really into the 60s show that much. That's not to say that they don't hate it, but I also, if I recall, they enjoyed the Munsters more, I'm pretty sure. I think so. I'm pretty sure I'm right on that, towards them. And maybe the same goes for you, some of you. But yeah. And let's not forget to mention the music in the Addams Family show. Yeah, it was really good. From its theme song, of course, to bits and pieces of music and themes like, I can think of, say, Gomez's theme. I really enjoy that, yeah, that's really catchy and such. But yeah, just overall, and my final thoughts, words, and results on the Addams Family show from the 1960s, it's a TV classic, and this being one of the very first adaptations of Charles Addams' comic strip, and that, of course, being The Addams Family. And without this, well, we wouldn't have what would come next in the later years when, down the road, future materials / variations of the Addams Family, whether if it was a new show, movies, yeah, it's all thanks to this. And, let's face it, the Addams Family from the 1960s, it for sure made TV history, and what would come next in the future for anything Addams Family. And I'm giving the Addams Family show from the 1960s, well, what the heck, 10 out of 10 stars. Yes, 10 out of 10 stars for the Addams Family 1960 show. And what about you guys? What did you think of the Addams Family 60 show? Any of you that first grew up watching with this, and any of you for the first time learning and knowing about the Addams Family was this? And yeah, because the same goes for me, obviously. I think it's very fitting, and it would seem very necessary to start with this, and you getting to know on what the Addams Family is like and what they are, starting with this. That seems very necessary. Which are some of your favorite episodes from the Addams Family 60 show? Who are some of your favorite characters? Any good laughs and such that you got from the Addams Family 60 show? Do you wish that maybe the show could have kept on going and, you know, because sadly it only lasted for 2 seasons? Yeah. And, you know, any other Addams Family materials that you enjoy, and which is your favorite piece of Addams Family? Is this one of them? Is it one of your top favorite Addams Family materials? Just overall, what do you think of the Addams Family show from the 1960s itself, and with what I've had to say, my review, and yeah, what did you think of my review? Leave comments and give this review video a like, as always. And so, with all that being said, thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed my review of The Addams Family from 1964, the TV show, one of the very first adaptations of Charles Addams' comic strip, The Addams Family. More review videos are coming your way. They're going to be awesome. Keep looking forward, and I'll see you guys in the next video / review. And well, reviewing Halloweenish materials on the weekends has just begun. Stay tuned for more to come. Take care, happy anniversary to the Addams Family 60 show, and peace out.